Hello, everyone. I'm Esperanza and this is Art from the Heart at St. Augustine's Church. We are still doing the session remotely due to the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. And today we are still in the topic of underpainting. So, for our subject for today, it's something that's very meaningful to me. It's the Cologne Cathedral. Um, and it's a very beautiful cathedral. Its architecture um, is, I would say, outstanding in my opinion. But again, you probably won't be able to relate to it unless you've been to the cathedral itself. But I just want to share that experience with you through this art piece. And also at the same time, I would want us to have an exercise on underpainting. So let's start, and hopefully, you like the subject and you enjoy the activity, today's activity in underpainting. Well, since we're doing underpainting, the first thing we need to do is to do an underpaint. Yes. And of course, we have to have an idea of what the cathedral looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have a printout of the cathedral itself, but I do have an image of the cathedral on my phone. Let me just get the image. So it actually looks like this. So we're not doing a realistic painting nor an architectural one. So we don't measure it in detail. So we don't need to use accurate measurements. So uh, we should, however, be able to depict the proportions. So that's one thing. And again, it's not architectural. So if we have like how many windows here, one, two, on top of each other, we can paint it as a one and another half, depending on our own expression. So it's more of an impressionist type of painting that we're doing today. And again, it's based on our own perspective and interpretation. So this is what we did in class earlier. And we've added some details which are not in the original piece, which are the grasses. And of course, the buildings we have also painted here, but not in detail. So since we're doing underpainting, the first thing we're going to do is to do an underpaint of the art piece. So I am just going to paint this. It's like a rectangle. Okay, actually, let's start with something that's like an L. Okay, and then probably a little bit like so. And then here, another tower going down. And then here, yeah, just like a rectangle. So if it dries like that, we just dip the brush in water and then continue painting. Oh, and then we paint the slanted line here and let it go inwards like so. And then here, triangle with a square. Again, with another triangle. And here we go. So now we just let it dry. Okay, I'm just making sure that the proportions are correct. So this is my interpretation of the proportions. And from here, we just have to let it dry. And once it's dry, we can paint over it. So this is our underpaint for our interpretation of the Cologne Cathedral. Okay, now that the blue paint is almost dry, I would have said dried, but I can still see parts of it glistening. It's now time to put some of the details on it. So I would like to add some color to it, just to give it more character. I'm going to paint some yellow ochre in some parts of this art piece, which may make it a little bit greenish if it's not dry enough. But let's wait and see. And also, yes, we need burnt umber. I have here the set of colors I'll be using. So let's see if it works. Okay, it's okay. So far, it's okay. Okay, we didn't use yellow ochre in glass, but that's fine because we did use burnt umber, but we didn't. I know we didn't put enough drama in the art piece, but that's okay. Okay, so now I'm just gonna let this one dry as well. And then we are going to apply some burnt umber once it has dried a little bit. Though I would prefer to paint it when there's still some moisture on it to allow the paint to naturally spread. But I would like, I don't want it to be too wet. Just perfect. It's dry, but not too dry. Okay, it's not really that dry. There are areas that are still moist. I'm not talking about the cake. I know it sounds like I'm talking about the cake, but what I'm saying is that some areas where the dried and some areas still has moisture. And okay, the next thing that we're going to do is put a layer of burnt umber. Okay, when we apply the layer of burnt umber, that would include creating the distinctive design. So for this particular building, the Cologne Cathedral, very distinctive design would be on the roof. That's one. And also in some parts of the cathedral. So that's one tower. And here, I'm painting the other tower, but I'm behind it. And before I paint the line going down, I will paint here a line on top of the blue roof. Like so. And then now I can paint a straight line here. And then the line here. Like so. So I've marked those areas. And now I'm going to go through the rest of the other designs here. This one. So this is another one. So like so, it's like an inverted V, of course. And then beside it would be those two narrow towers. Again, this is more of an impressionist style painting, so we don't really have to have the exact details. However, we should be able to show that this is the Cologne Cathedral based on the impressions that we are creating. So that's done. And then here, okay, this actually goes straight down. So let me just paint here straight down. And then here, there's another one. And here another one. And then we need to paint the slanted line here. And also here on the other side. Oops, I smudged it. Just be very careful not to smudge your work. I am very clumsy, happens to me all the time. Okay, so now we've had that basic shape. The next one, let's make this a little curved. And then another slanted line here. And another one here. And again curved here. And then a horizontal line. Like so. And then here another horizontal line. Well, and yes, here as well. So we need the line there as well. So we've now marked the basic areas that we need to emphasize the design on. So like so. Okay, I'm just going to lift this. Yeah, so our underpaint here is light blue, and we have left some of the areas as light blue. And that's what I mentioned earlier. We have to let it dry first. Otherwise, if the light blue color mixes with the yellow ochre, it will be very greenish. So we have to let it dry. So if it's, of course, it will turn green. It will just be slightly green, not too green. Okay, so that is done. And then here, this also extends to the lower part. And yes, speaking about smudges. So now we have to do a pair here. So we have to wet this with water, run the brush, and that is to just to agitate the paint and let it mix with the water. And now we just lift it with kitchen towel and then retouch. So again, if we smudge it, it's a lot of work. And it doesn't, it's not 100% sure that we will be able to remove the paint from the paper, because it might have already stained the paper. So there's also that risk. So we're now just applying the design on the tower. And this is the a very interesting design that we will see from the actual Cologne Cathedral. There's a name for this, which unfortunately I have forgotten. Because it's been a while since I've been there. But again, it might have been a while, but it was very memorable for me. Okay, so while we're waiting for all of those to dry, we're going to put dots here in the blue area. 3 layers of dots. Perfect. And then we are also going to apply the same design here on this part of the cathedral. And here. Yeah, it's still a bit wet, that's why it's smudging, but not a problem. Oh dear, I've done it again. Not too bad this time. However, I have to stop doing that. Otherwise, the whole page would be smudged. Well, let's start here on this part of the cathedral. So we just paint it with 1 layer of burnt umber, like so. We're happy with that. And then we now go to this one, which is more interesting because we would have to paint some details like that. Again, not to worry about these details because this is more of an impressionist than a realist piece. It's not architectural as well, so not to worry. What's important here, again, is expressing our own perspective on it and making sure that we are able to identify it as the subject itself. So, like so. Then here, yes, I start here from the bottom, create that curve on top, create that curve on top. Perfect. And now, we just draw some lines here, like so, going up. Okay, let's paint it first. We'll do the lines later on once it's a little bit dry. Okay, and for this part, oh, I love this part because it doesn't end like that. It's we're going to add some lines here. The actual impressions to make it look like the cathedral itself. Again, they're just impressions. Okay, and here we also add some of those inverted V's running down through the base. And then here, at the bottom again, inverted V's. Because it is a pattern, of course. And then here, like we paint that shape like a rectangle. Now, where did that blue paint come from now? I haven't used blue from the only time I used blue was when we started. So I'm not sure where that came from. So here we're going to add a few more, maybe 1, 2, between. Again, they're going to run until the base. The lines are going to run until the base. And again, we paint those rectangles. Well, they're not really rectangles because one side is rounded or curved, but one side is like, we begin with a rectangle and then we round one end. Yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it. Okay, so fantastic. And then here, we add some more of those. And then the doors. Yes, this is the entrance to one side of the cathedral. One would be behind it, and the one would be here and here. So if we look at it from the top view, it's actually like a cross. And yes, I've been to the tower. It's lovely, and the view is lovely. So where were we? We are on the design. Yes. Okay, so we have all parts now, if I'm not mistaken. So we just have to put more details now. So here, I'm adding details to this one by painting lines on it, merging on the top, same here. And then here, there is a smaller tower here, just like this one. Okay, so I've just spread the paint a little bit to create some balance. And now we will do this area here. So that's that area. And then we'll put dots on it later on. So now we're ready to use black paint. And we start with this area. I'm starting with it because it's small. And then we go down to this area. So I am just making this rectangular tip, triangular tip, more triangular. And then here I'm painting over the pattern we created, including the design. And if I do miss some of the lines, that's okay, because we will still see it in the original one in burnt umber. Okay. So we continue to paint the cathedral and we reinforce this design. Again, we don't have to paint exactly on top of what we painted previously. Here we have this darker area. Like so. Then here as well, reinforce the design. Again, the doors. Oh, and then this one, I think this is also a very important part where it has some sort of windows. And I love the way that this has a lot of lines. There we go. And then here, again, more of those lines. Okay, wow. So we have a lot of those pointy lines. And I think I need to do the top of this again. And that is because of smudging it. So here's our interpretation of the Cologne Cathedral. Now we are just going to create a little platform here in front. Like so. And then let's just create the road. And then here we have this building. And then we just put some highlight on it. And then add a little bit of water. And then here we have another one, a taller one. Just move that a bit. Yeah, and this taller one. So there we go. And then here we just add another building, probably slightly lighter color. This will be from afar. And then here as well. So these are not the original colors of the buildings, but they're more of just like shadows. And the last thing I want to paint here would be the sky. So to do that, I'm just painting this with water, just water. Before I apply the blue paint, and wait, there's my dark blue paint. I'm painting it in the shape that I want. And then just spreading it. Like so. Okay, let me see if we've missed anything else. Ah, yes, we have. So we see here a large yellow area. I think we should put some lines there. I know it's a little bit dark, but the actual building is also a little bit dark. However, if you are there and you see the building, I would say it's really very fascinating. So this is our interpretation. This is our version of the Cologne Cathedral. Oops. And yes, it is dripping. Bear with me. Let me just check. And that is from the clouds. My apologies for that. Okay, I think I painted it with too much water. So I would have to let it dry before I can lift it up. But again, this is our own interpretation of the Cologne Cathedral. And we have used underpainting for it. And this is our last session on underpainting, but it doesn't mean that we're no longer going to use underpainting. It just means that we're not going to focus so much on underpainting itself, but instead use it as a tool for our next activity. So if we need to use underpainting for other art pieces that we're going to do, then we will use it, but we will not be focused on it anymore. It's going to be more of a tool. So we will start with gradients in our next session, and I look forward to see you there. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.